Hi everybody and welcome to the Invincibles. As you can see, I'm hosting today because Robbie apparently is off to the Merino press conference. He's doing the medical and everything like because it's been done for about 6 weeks according to Robbie. Still not happened, but according to Robbie it is. So we don't know. But in his place, we've got the wonderful and the best brother, in my opinion, like Laurie. How are you doing, Laurie? You all right?
You're so kind, man.
No problems at all.
And don't adjust your sets. I know Robbie's lost a lot of weight, but this is not Robbie. This is Laurie, his older brother. The better looking version.
The better looking version and the slimmer version. And of course, we've got Julian as well. Like, how you doing, Julian?
Yep, it is me. I haven't lost any weight, but hopefully by this time next month I will do.
Why is that then?
Going to go on diet.
Oh, right, you are, though.
Yeah.
You say that every week, right? I'm going to say this. Every time I see you say I'm going to cut down and all that. What have you come in with today?
Family bag of Maltesers.
Yeah. So there you go, like, it's going to be tough for you.
Yeah, but this is the last day. The diet starts tomorrow.
This episode is sponsored by NordVPN. Julian, tell us a little bit more about it.
NordVPN is the fastest VPN on the planet and nearly twice as fast as the next VPN provider. Our friends at NordVPN are exclusively giving AFTV viewers 4 extra months on a 2-year plan if you go to nordvpn.com/AFTV. Forget Carl Walker, forget Mickey van der Ven, forget Erling Haaland. NordVPN is where speed is at, and speed is what you want when you're protecting yourself online. Head over to nordvpn.com/AFTV or click the link in the description below to get 4 extra months of NordVPN with their brilliant 2-year plan. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you to our friends at NordVPN for powering this video.
What, so like, you know, no trips into McDonald's at Villa Park or a burger or?
I'll try not to.
Try not to. We'll see how that goes, like, you know. So obviously we've got Aston Villa coming up at the weekend, massive game. But for all that, let's just go back to last week. We've all predicted a win. It turned out to be a win. What do you reckon? Like, I'm going to be really honest. I watched it back. You know, like on the Sky Sports later on that evening, and I was thinking, well, weren't that great performance? It was a bit bitty. I thought Saka was a little bit quiet. What I see of it, but when you actually look back on the TV, it completely different. Saka, I thought, played really well. Looked really dangerous most of the time, and some good performances. Julian, what do you think? Like at the end of the day, job done.
Yeah, I mean, I came out of the game and I thought, if I had to sum it up in one word, I'd say average. I didn't think there was anything particularly bad about the performance. I didn't think there was anything amazing about it either. And I thought every player pretty much fitted into that category. And a couple of minutes before Saka scored, Robbie turns around to me and says, "Who would you take off?" And on the basis of what I'd seen, I said Saka. And after the game, obviously, you know, it would have been a wrong decision to take him off for the goal that he scored and the really good goal that he scored. But I kind of justified my comment on the fact that from what I could see, he was having an average performance and he looked pretty jaded. And he did, you know, if I had to pick a player to come off, it would have been him. But then I was watching Tactical Insight, your favourite programme.
Yeah, well done. Did you manage to not fall asleep?
Well, I was encouraged by, I have to say that I got a text from Graham asking me for my comments on what he thought about Partey. And I kind of felt obliged because...
Just go and watch it, though.
Well, I felt obliged to actually go and watch it because Graham is very... Obviously, I felt obliged because it's such a great show and very entertaining, but I also felt obliged because Graham's always been very helpful to me when I've asked him some technical questions. So what surprised me about when I watched Tactical Insight was the stats for Saka were quite amazing. So when I was looking at it at the game, I thought, well, okay, he scored a goal, but that's just one moment. A player of his quality can always come and score a tremendous goal, but the overall play wouldn't have been up to it, and I justified my decision on I would have taken him off. But if you look at the stats, he was having a brilliant game. It's kind of what you see live isn't always exactly the case.
Yeah, it is a strange one, that. Like, you know, by the way, Graham, I love Graham, but he sends me a message every week about
and you never watch it, do you?
It's like, he must have 150 unread messages, but he still sends it the next time, like, you know what I mean? But I love Graham, love you, Graham, like, you know, and keep doing what you're doing. And
but you're never going to watch it.
No, I have watched it a few times, and I listen. I'm gonna big up Graham because his knowledge of the game is unbelievable. Considering I don't know if anybody knows this, he's never played the game, so to have that knowledge and to be able to do what he does and everything like that.
He's never played football.
No.
Wow.
So how does he know so much?
Well, it's incredible, isn't it? Like that he does and sees it as a manager or a player or whatever, and breaks it down. He breaks it down fantastically well for someone that hasn't played the game. And so big up to Graham, because that's
he must be watching the game in a completely different way to how I watch it, because he's kind of seeing it almost like a game of chess. He's understanding every single
got a very
move.
analytical brain.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I've had a lot of really good conversations with Graham, not just about football, but about cricket. He's a big cricket fan.
Yes, massive cricket fan. Now, I think he has played cricket.
Yeah, he played to a pretty good level. Yeah, so he's a big cricket fan as well.
So what was your making of the game, Laurie? Because you would have seen it differently to us.
Yeah, I did. I mean, that's the whole thing about football, and it's very subjective. Everyone watches it, they've got their own viewpoints, their own biasness and stuff like that. But I watched the game and I thought it was a decent first game of the season performance, because you've got to remember the players are not fully yet up to speed. Yes, they've had a pre-season. Yes, they had a decent pre-season, but it's nothing like the real thing. So what I took from the game, first and foremost, we got the win. We didn't concede. Saka and Havertz, who we expect to be two of our main goal contributors, they scored and both assisted as well, so that was good. I thought the second half we dropped off levels a little bit, allowed Wolves to come back into it. In fact, for a while in the second half, Wolves were actually the better team. It looked more like scoring than we did. Kuna missed a decent chance. So overall, I was satisfied. It wasn't the greatest performance in the world, but 2-0, no conceding, got off to a great start.
They was quite a decent outfit. I thought. Well, I was impressed with Wolves. I thought that they, listen, they're not going to come to the Emirates and go toe to toe with us. They had to change, do different tactics. I thought they got under our skin a little bit, and I thought that they done okay and had their moments, as you expect. I think they'll be okay, Wolves. So fair play to them.
Yeah, well, let's hope they're okay. That's the last team we
we like Wolves, particularly away from that. I will say this: I thought it was okay, and then I goes into Sunday, and when I hear people saying, "Oh, if Arsenal don't win the league, it's a failure. Arteta's got to win the league," and when I see Manchester City and I see their team sheet and they're leaving out, let's imagine this now. We're going to Spurs or we're going to Villa on Saturday. We're leaving out Saliba, we're leaving out Rice, we're leaving out Saka, and we're leaving out Havertz.
And we're leaving out Ben White, because they didn't have Kyle Walker playing, did they?
Ben White, so another player out there. I think, we'd be all like, well, we'd be tearing our hair out if we had any, like, you know what I mean? But they go to Chelsea, which is no easy game, as we know, and I felt that, a little bit of genius work from Pep was this, because I looked at it and I thought, wow, I thought we might be in with a chance of winning the title, which we are, but so I changed that around, thinking that they might drop off or whatever. No chance. I
think the thing for me with City is how motivated are they going to be this year? I mean, they've won it a few times on the trot now. Was it 4? They're going for a record 5th. You do wonder how they're going to get the motivation over those 38 games with all the other competitions they're in. But you know what? I've got to agree with you, man. They look good, didn't they? They was always in control of that game.
Yeah, but if you're going to use that argument, are they going to have the motivation? Then you can say that for any team. I mean, are Arsenal going to have the motivation to go another 38 games after they've come so close? Would they be potentially demotivated? Because winning must bring on its own motivation. They know the feeling of winning. They don't want to give it up. And they're so used to winning that winning becomes a habit. So I think it's easier for them to keep motivated.
Yeah, you're right. What I meant in terms of how hungry are they going to be? Because if you look at it logically, we should be more hungry than them, having finished runners-up twice on the trot. You would have thought that Arsenal would be more hungry than them. But then City, especially under Pep, they're such a beast, such an animal that they really are craving that 5th title. So
and
it's going to be interesting.
And it could be Pep's last season.
It could be.
He definitely doesn't want to go out on a downer, does he, to lose the league? So I would say they're going to be. We cannot rely on City tailing off. We've got to up our game only slightly, because we were at a pretty decent level last season. So we need to bridge that gap and expect them to be at that same level.
Exactly that. And if you look at it, if they match every result now till last season, Man City, they'd have improved.
Because they drew
both games with.
Was it 3-3 that one? It was
4-4,
wasn't it? 4-4, wasn't it?
And they drew at 1-1 at the Etihad. So
that's where
they're actually now.
Burnley, I think.
Huh?
Because we watched that.
We watched that through the door.
You were on the train, and we were doing the fan cams outside the Burnley main entrance, and there was a TV on in the background.
Yeah, and we managed to get on the train, and still when we got on the train, someone said like it's still 1-0 to Chelsea, like. But listen, so they're actually, if they works out now, they're 1 point going to be 1 point better off. So it's vital. And I think I'm not going to...
Actually, 2 points better off. It's 3 points for a win. They got 1 point for a draw.
Yeah, but they drew in the other game. They would be like, because they drew if they draw that next game, like, So, and this is what I'm saying, like, this is why I think come Saturday, I think this is, I know it sounds silly, second game of the season, but Arsenal got to win this game.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they have to win this game.
Do you think they have to win though?
Well, they have to improve on what happened last season. So that's as simple as that. So whether it be a point or
would you take a draw?
No. No. I think Arsenal have got to set a statement, I think, and get a result here, because I think that if you drop points here, you might drop points at Spurs, then going to City the week after that, you could be 5-6 points off of City already. And
so you think it would be 2 points dropped if we don't beat Villa this weekend?
In the context of the league title and chasing City, I do, because I'll tell you how I see it. If Manchester City were going to Aston Villa on Saturday, I would think City would win that game.
Yeah, Villa did beat them last week.
They did.
Yeah. They beat us twice.
And they beat them well.
They did, I know, and they beat us. And then they beat them, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think they beat us.
But there was a difference with Villa against Arsenal than the Villa against Man City, is that Villa really deserved to win that game and win it by a greater margin, whereas I thought they were quite fortunate to win both games. I think a draw would have been a reasonable... a draw at Villa Park, for me, would have been a reasonable result. The game at Arsenal, I thought we should have been 3-4-0 up by half-time. I think it was down to really poor finishing. We actually dominated that first half. It's one of the best performances I've seen from an Arsenal team last season. That first half.
Yeah, and so like, listen, I'll go back to the game last season. I felt if Havertz would have scored, if the referee gives that goal, then it would have been given as a goal. It was just that they went with the on-field decision.
Yeah, that's quite a good statement. If the ref had given that as a goal,
then
it would have been a goal.
It would have been.
I'd have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, well, no, because VAR wouldn't have got involved. VAR got involved. That when the goal was disallowed, VAR actually said, "Look, we can't tell." So if they had to go with the on-field decision, so that's our fine margins. Could have got a point that day. I felt we've done okay in that game, but I think we've got to play a little bit better. The season before was probably one of the best games I've seen at Villa Park, when we
was that the 4-2
with the 4-2 with the
that was good
header and of course Martinelli scoring before celebrating before he scored. It's going to be a massive goal. I think Arsenal, if you want to win the league, because you've got to look at it as you rightly said just 5 minutes ago, that they ain't going to drop off. So you've got to be looking to improve on last season, and where you improve is where you didn't win last season. Newcastle away, IE and Villa. I think it's going to be a massive game. I do think that we've got. I don't say we're not favourites, but I think that I think if we play to our ability, we'll win. But listen, Villa got a fantastic result at West Ham, by the way.
Exactly, yeah. 2 games in, so what? Match day 2, but already this game, Villa versus Arsenal, is the biggest game of the season so far, in my view.
The
biggest game of the season, the most attractive game, even for the neutrals. And like I said,
that's credit to Villa, isn't it?
Yeah. You're talking about last year's runners-up versus last year's 4th place. They beat us home and away. In fact, we didn't score against them last season. We lost 1-0 and 2-0 respectively. And Villa are a damn good side with a very good manager. And listen, I really hope we can go there and win. But I'm going to be honest, as I like to be, if we go there and get a point, I won't be disgusted.
The only way I look at it, and this is how I see it, is that I think if I'm not mistaken, Man City have got Ipswich at home. Their next game after that, they've got, I think it's Brentford. I'm looking at that. By the time, and then I think they've got Brentford, then they've got West Ham away, then us. I believe that when we go to the Etihad, they'll be on maximum points.
I mean, but it's a long season. It
is a long season, but
if you let them lot get ahead of us,
yeah,
you've got time to claw it back.
But that's, I've never seen that happen with Man City. That once they get ahead, we've always been ahead of them, and they've been chasing us. As soon as last season they got ahead of us, they didn't drop a point.
Yeah, that's
but they're notoriously slow starters. And what I would say about that game as well on Saturday, we've also got to factor in the fact that this is Villa's first home game of the season. So it's going to be a cauldron. I mean, you guys are going there. You're lucky, man. I'd love to be going to that game.
Yeah, listen, we actually took.
They had a very good result and performance. I watched their game because it was immediately after ours.
Yeah, West Ham. I thought they done
that was
very,
a very
very
good
well.
performance, and they did look good. And like I said, that was away. They won that game. Now they're at home in front of their fans, and you know Villa Park's always loud. It's always quite hostile there.
It's
going to be a very difficult game. In fact, I would go as far as to say that Villa, in terms of difficulty, have got to be in the top 4 or 5.
Oh, 100%. When we played them last season, they was on a run at home, which was unreal.
Yeah, because they'd just beaten Manchester City. They hadn't lost for something like 20, 30 games at home.
Yeah.
It was some ridiculous stat. They'd broken all those home records. But then if you look at, I understand what you're saying about Villa, that if you look at it, they came 4th. So they're the 4th best team in the league. We're playing them away from home. They turned us over twice. They turned Man City over. But if you actually look at their recent form, it's not been that great. Towards the end of last season, they were, I think they won 1 out of their last 10 games. Last game of the season, they get hammered by Brighton 5-0. You look at their pre-season results, they were losing 4-1 to Columbus. They then lost 1-0 to the Americas, I think they were called.
Yeah, I think they had 7 pre-season games and lost 4 of them.
Yeah, and it wasn't great. And then you look at
they lost to Dortmund as well.
Yeah, and you look at the West Ham. You look at the West Ham game. Yes, an away win in the Premier League first game. You can't fault that. But I didn't think the performance was that great. I thought it was a good performance because they won. But if you actually look at the stats and you watch the game, it was
they had more shots on goal than West Ham.
Yeah, but if you look at the XG of that game, their XG was lower than West Ham. And most of the stats were pretty even. I think that game could have gone either way. The winning goal was excellent.
Yeah.
The winning goal really was good. One-touch football, bang in the net. It was good. But I don't think they were that much ahead of West Ham. And if you look at what we did to West Ham last season in our Premier League game, then it's difficult to compare the two performances. So I think that...
Although West Ham did do pretty well against us last season.
Yeah, but I'm talking about at West Ham.
Yeah, I know.
In the Premier League.
That's last season.
Yeah,
I think you have to look at it and we get onto it now.
No, listen, I want to say we're very capable of going to Villa and beating them.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, and we have a right to be confident, I don't think we'll lose the game. However, if we get a draw, I'm not going to look at that and think, nah. I'm not going to look.
What about you, Julian? What are you thinking?
I agree with Laurie that we won't look back at the end of the season and think we lost the league because we got a draw at Villa Park.
No, I agree.
It's not going to be the worst result. But if you look at if Arsenal are going to go on to win the league, they really need to start looking at games at Villa Park as ones that they should win. So a draw would be the minimum. And a win wouldn't be unexpected for me. With looking at the kind of recent performances of the team, I'm not talking about the whole of last season. I'm talking about how Villa ended the season, and how they've played their pre-season, and I do acknowledge that they got a good result at West Ham, but it was quite an even game.
Yeah.
And we should, with our aspirations to win the league, go and win at Villa Park.
That's how I see it. I do see it as like, if you're going to win the league, these are the games that you're going to have to go and get results at. And probably win, because you're looking at maybe Man City away, Liverpool away, you're taking a draw.
Yeah.
And as difficult it is, and we know how difficult it is. It's the next away game after that is Tottenham. That's always a difficult game, even though we've won there the last couple of seasons. But that will be tough. I think a tougher game than Villa. So that's how I see it. But I think it'd be a really good game. The last time we played in black and won, so I'm hoping that we'll be playing in the black kit again. But obviously, let's get the elephant out of the room. Like, everybody's talking about it. Like, it gets on me old whatever words you want to use. Like, it gets on my nerves, should I say? Like, every time we play Villa, it comes up. Who's the better manager, Arteta or Emery? For me, I'm going to just put it out there. I'm just going to say how I see it. Like, I think Emery's a better manager on the CV, on paper and everything like that. But he is not a better manager for Arsenal Football Club. That's my opinion. Arteta has done more than what he has done. Yes, I know people will turn around and say he's been backed a lot more and whatever. That is just the way that it is. Emery is a good manager, but he's outdone Arteta last season. As you said earlier on, Julian, if we took our chances, I don't think nothing that Emery could do about it.
And it wasn't down to Emery that we missed so many gilt-edged chances. In fact, the fact that they that they weren't capable of not defending against those, because it wasn't great defending that stopped us scoring. It was poor attacking play. It was poor finishing.
I think what I will give Emery credit for last season was when in the second half, he managed that very, very well. Like, tactically, like, he knew that we had to go forward, and he just sort of, knocked us off at the end with what he done. And Watkins done very, very well. Like, and our goalkeeper Martinelli, give it low. This is why I think we need to beat these. They absolutely celebrated it like they've. Well, but in saying that, it was important to them. That's what I was going to say.
And it stopped Spurs getting there.
It was very, very important for them, that result as well, because it sort of really given the ascendancy to get top four. So it was a big game for. I think people forget about how big a game that was for Villa as well, and a bigger result. So they're capable of coming to the Emirates and winning. That's what I'm saying. We should be capable of going there and getting the result, So, but what's your take? Listen, we've all seen it. Robbie and the hard man going at it,
I must admit,
I don't think none of them are right. None of them are wrong, in my opinion. But
that's what was so intriguing about the fan cam. I saw that, and it's gone viral, and it's a great bit of visuals. You know what I mean? So shout out to Robbie and to Yardman. And I think they both made very good points.
Yeah, I did.
Both things can be true at the same time. Like, one was Robbie was saying that, listen, it's difficult to compare because at Arsenal, Arteta's clearly done better than what Emery did. And my man Yardman there was saying, listen, you can't argue with what Emery's done. I mean, if you look at it, Yardman is right insofar as well. I think this is. I think I'm right in saying that Unai Emery has been managing now for 23 years, and during that time, I think he's managing like 4 different countries. He's managing Russia, he's managing Spain, he's managing France, he's managing England. I think he's managed something like 7 different clubs and won like 11 trophies. So you compare that to Arteta. Obviously, it's incomparable, really, because Arteta's just won the 1 trophy, he's just managed the 1 club. However, like Robbie says, when Unai Emery was manager at Arsenal, there was a large amount of the fan base didn't want him there anymore. We had the Europa League debacle. The direction of travel towards the end of his tenure was definitely on the way downwards. It would appear that he'd lost the players, lost the fans, and so it pretty much was the right thing for him to leave. But that doesn't stop him from being a really good manager.
Yeah.
So, as I said, both things can be true at the same time.
Yeah, I get that and what you're saying, Julian. What's your thoughts?
Well, I have to say, I really enjoyed the fan cam for the main reason that neither of them was actually listening to each other. It was just very, very funny that they both were. It was almost like neither of them were in the same room or next to each other. They were arguing, just that they weren't listening. They were both shouting at each other, which made it very entertaining. I wouldn't say it was the most refined football discussion I've ever heard.
No, but it was passionate. It was raw.
Yeah, it was passionate.
You know, it was entertaining.
It was passionate, raw. But as you said, it's, in a more intelligent view, was that it depends. You can't say one's better than the other. It depends how you compare it. If you compare 18 months of Arteta's Arsenal tenure to 18 months of how long Emery was there, you'd have to say that Arteta's the better manager. But then if you go through his whole career, Arteta hasn't had, how many years did you say, 24 years?
23 years.
It's 23 years. How many years? It's far more than Arteta's had. So you can't compare the two. But on current form or current performances, I think the only thing we all really care about is who's the better manager for Arsenal.
Exactly that.
I don't even think it's so much about who's the better manager, because if you're going to say who's the better manager, then on paper anyway, you would clearly have to say that.
Yeah, and you'd also have to say.
Yeah, but
you'd also have to say,
you
also have to say that when he took over at Aston Villa, it was the same sort of, even worse a situation than what he was at Arsenal, and in quicker time he's got them into the Champions League and got Villa flourishing at a very, very short rate to what Arteta done.
Listen, there's no doubt that Emery's an excellent manager, and Arteta's proven himself to be a very capable manager as well. I think the more poignant question could be, which manager would you prefer to have? And I'm pretty sure most of the Arsenal fan base, most of them anyway, would prefer Arteta, because he's come in there. This is what his sixth season now.
Does would anybody not prefer in this room not prefer?
No,
no, that's what I'm saying. The vast majority of the fan base are going to say, "Listen, man, Arteta is the man."
I think a lot of people forget how poor that was at the end.
It was just awful. There didn't seem to be. I mean, maybe he came in at the wrong time. He was the right man at the wrong time.
He didn't get backed, Julian. That was the thing.
He didn't get backed. He didn't want Pepe.
He wanted
Zaha. And then the management and infrastructure behind him was poor.
Yeah.
Whereas one thing Arteta, you could say, has been quite a lucky manager. I mean, the fact that the ownership issues at Arsenal that have been rumbling on for years have been resolved.
Yeah.
And that our ownership now is very much supported.
Fully owned.
And it's fully owned. They've been very supportive of the team. They've put in a structure that they all seem to work well together. He's put in Edu, he's put in Richard Garlick. There's a number of other people there that all seem to fit together as a team. Whereas Emery, you felt that he didn't have that synergy with the other people around him, and it proved that those other people weren't really great for Arsenal either, because they all went.
Yeah, everything you said there is true, but I would add this. There was a time when he had that quite long unbeaten run
at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of the fan base, remember what they were singing at the time? We've got our Arsenal back, because he came in off the back of
and I will say that he done fantastically well. I remember that game was at Fulham away. Do you remember that, and played really, really well. And I think that Ramsey got a wonderful goal that day, and they started singing that, and it was refreshing. I think it was refreshing when he first came in.
Yeah.
But when it really mattered, you know what I mean? Like we was 1 point away from Champions League football. He changed the whole team around. We ended up losing to Crystal Palace. That can be forgiven. It can happen, before
he had Mustafi falling over.
Mustafi falling over.
You can't legislate against that, and he didn't buy him, did he?
A couple of changes that he done there for the Europa. Got us to the Europa League final. That was an absolute catastrophe in my mind. We just didn't perform that day.
It was catastrophic awful. Second half. I think the first half we were drawing.
And so what you need to do then is go into the next season at it, and he didn't. And
it got progressively worse.
I remember it was terrible.
I think it's fair to say that at the time when he left the club, I don't think there were too many fans saying, "No, you've been harshly treated."
No.
I think a lot of the sentiment about him being harshly treated has been in retrospect because of what he's gone on to done at Villa, where he took over from, let's face it, pretty much sinking ship after Gerrard had left it. He's revitalised Villa, and look, he's gone on to get Champions League football for him.
Can I say, this is why it gets a little bit annoying for me, this Arteta Emery thing. I'm glad that Emery's doing really well. I've got nothing against him, you know what I mean? It just didn't work at Arsenal. Good luck, and he's proved that he's a good manager and whatever. So I wish him all the best. apart from, of course, these next couple of games.
And especially that thanks to him, Spurs are now not in the Champions League.
Yeah, so, you know,
And let's be honest as well, the debate is heightened by the fact that, and it is a fact, that last season they beat us in both games. And a lot of people said that Villa were instrumental in our title challenge slipping, because if you remember, when we lost that second game to them in April, it kind of derailed us a little bit. It wasn't the only reason, but people will look back at that and think that is when things faltered a little bit.
Yeah, and I get that, but I also say that if we'd have beaten Villa that day, it's not necessarily guaranteed we'd have gone to Man United, not guaranteed we'd gone to Spurs. There'd have been a different, more pressure on that and all that, like, you know. But with Aston Villa, I've never seen as a massive rivalry between Arsenal and Aston Villa, but I sense it now. A couple of the players have, you know, like obviously Callum Chambers went there, there was no problem there, but obviously Martinez as the goalkeeper, for whatever reason, I never boo him. I'm going to be really honest, because I felt that he was harshly treated at Arsenal.
He was a better goalkeeper.
He was better goal. It was more of a business decision than a football decision, in my opinion. But he's gone there, and you know, listen, the Arsenal fans give it to him. When he gives it back, good luck to him. Like I haven't got a problem with it. Like, you know, but there does seem a little bit more of a rivalry because of that. You know, I'm pretty sure he'll get some stick again on Saturday. Like, you know, do you sense there is a little bit between Arsenal and Aston Villa now, like?
No, only the fact that Aston Villa are now a good team. So when we're at that level and Villa are competing to be at that level, there's going to be more rivalry. That's it. When, you know, you said you thought it was a hostile environment there, I've never found it hostile at Villa Park. I think it's a great ground to go to. I found the fans there are very hospitable. That they cheer their team, but it's not like going to Millwall away or, you know,
or Tottenham away,
or Tottenham away. That's, you know, that's what I would call hostile.
They're very supportive. It's very loud.
Yeah, it's loud, but it's loud in the right way.
Yeah, without that. I've always had a soft spot for Villa Park. There's something special, you know, like the semi-finals back in the day when they were there, but like it's an old school ground, and
but it's also like it. You say it's an old school ground, but the way that they've redeveloped it over the years, there's no pillars in the way. It's not like going to Everton where you can't see anything, or some of these grounds we go to. They give us good seats along the side. You know, I think it's a great ground. It's one of my favourite away grounds.
Saturday night, 5:30. Do we like that kick-off time? I'm mixed about it. I don't know.
Yeah, it means we don't have to wake up so early.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean,
you get home late.
You get home later,
Saturday
but then
night's gone.
It depends. Well, we can always have a Saturday night in Birmingham straight after the game. You know, it's quite a vibrant city.
I'm going to be totally selfish here and say that I prefer 5:30 kickoffs to 3 o'clock kickoffs, and I'll tell you why. Because on a Saturday when you get up, it gives you a little bit more time to do little things around the house. Maybe go to the gym, do whatever, and then settle down and watch a nice game of football. So I actually prefer the 5:30 kickoffs to 3 o'clock. The only ones I'm not against 3 o'clock. That's traditional time, so I'm cool with that. The ones I'm not too keen on are the 12:45 or 12:30 kickoffs on a Saturday morning.
We've got that next time we're going to Spa. I don't like the 7:30 kickoff on a Saturday night. No.
Yeah, that's the worst one. But I remember we had a 12:30 Everton last season, and I literally had to I was getting up in the dark. I was outside and it was still dark. And that, from a supporter's perspective, to have to get up to Liverpool for a 12:30 kickoff, especially with Robbie Lyle, it might be traffic or whatever. And I think we were there by about 10 o'clock.
It might be traffic light, you know. But when he's doing an interview for Sky Sports, we'll get up there. Don't worry about it.
Just to go back to your question on rivalry, I disagree with my follicle challenge friend.
Okay.
I do think that there is a rivalry developing. It's a good rivalry, and it's because of all the things we spoke about. The fact that they beat us a couple of times last season, the fact that the Unai Emery thing, whether we want to engage in it or not, it is there. It is that, like you said, Lee, it's that elephant in the room. It always gets spoken about. And I think with the Emi Martinez thing as well, and I've actually got a few friends who live in Birmingham, and they're always like, you know, on my case whenever Arsenal come into town. So I think there is a bit of don't get me wrong, it's not on the Tottenham or any or Man United or even Liverpool levels yet, but it's a growing rivalry for sure.
Listen, for me, Aston Villa have always been a big club. They're a very, very big club, and I do think that, you know, if unfortunately, look, Villa get it and get one over us, it'll all be, Emery's got one over Arteta. That's where I think it's bubbling, like, you know. You've even got our own fans that be saying it, like, oh, Emery's better on that because he's over one. So I'm desperate for Arsenal to win this game for more reasons than just football.
See, there you go. You see, that's where the seeds of rivalry are sown. The fact that you're
do.
desperate for that win,
Yeah.
and it's not just football. There's some other extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, it is.
That's what encapsulates a good rivalry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, bring it on.
Bring it on, like, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go for Arsenal to win 2-0. What about you boys?
You know what? I'm sorry to have to spoil the party. And again, I apologise for being negative, but I've just been looking at this game and I think it's their first game of the season. They're coming off a very good win against West Ham. They all believe they are genuine title challengers, or at the very least, genuine top 4 contenders. I think this could be a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight. I don't think Arsenal would concede, and I think they'll nick one. I think it'll be 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Whoa, I like that. 1-0.
I hope you're right, and I'm.
Like, let's hope so. Like, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
but it all depends on. I mean, I know Ollie Watkins didn't start last. I know. Did he? Was he not even there? He wasn't
scored
at the end. No, he didn't. Did he?
Well,
Onana scored.
Yeah, Onana and Duran scored.
And
what on Saturday?
Yeah,
he must have come on or something then, like. You know?
Yeah, he was on, but Duran came on later.
Yeah, so he came on.
Did he start? Ollie
Yeah,
Watkins?
I think he started. Yeah.
That's a very good player, by the way. Onana. I mean, okay, I know they lost Douglas Luiz. He's gone to Juve, but signing Onana's not a bad
Listen, they made some
replacement.
good signings,
Yeah.
Villa, like, you know what I mean?
They've also got Ross Barkley there. He came from Luton.
Yeah.
They've got a few other.
They've got a decent squad, and obviously like Champions League as well for them. So
Yeah, but they've still got a few injuries in the centre of their defence. Tyrone Mings is still out.
Matty Cash could be out, actually.
Yeah.
I think he came off last week with an injury. He might not be back. But then they'll probably bring in, is it Diego Carlos, what his name is?
Brazilian
Brazilian
beast,
guy.
he is, isn't he? Like,
Yeah, and then they've got
played
Pau
really well.
Torres and Konza. Look, listen, they're good side, man.
Listen, he's gone
They're a
around
good
and he's built a
side.
good side and
Good manager,
So
playing at home. Their first home game
under
of
the
season.
lights.
Under the
Gonna be-
lights.
It's not going to be under the lights at 5:30.
Yeah, they put the lights. Do you know that's another thing. Quickly, they put the lights on there even when it's sunny, don't they? Like, why do they do that?
Yeah.
If you ever look at like the Emirates, like, you know, every game there,
Yeah, they talk about being sustainable.
mad, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? So it'd be a good game.
I am looking forward to the game though. Like I
Yeah.
said, for me, I mean, I know we're only 2 match days in, but it's already the biggest game of the season so far.
Yeah,
Without
looking
a doubt.
forward to
Bigger
it.
than Man City, Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chelsea, Man City.
Chelsea, dead food. You know what I mean?
Well, if Chelsea are dead food, then we shouldn't be overly impressed by Man City winning there. Then
No, I wasn't. I always thought they was going to beat Chelsea, to be honest. But what I was more impressed with was with the changes that they made, and they still won. Could Arsenal have made all those changes against Chelsea and win that game? I don't think so. I don't think if we'd have made all those changes against Wolves, I don't know. That's the difference for me. I think like Chelsea are, at this moment in time, it's deja vu for them, isn't it? Like they're back to where they were last season. New manager, 50 odd players, and they'll be there again next season with another manager and 50 more players. You know.
And just to extend that point, if you went to a neutral, yeah, and you said which would you rather see, Arsenal versus or Aston Villa versus Arsenal, or Chelsea versus Man City, I'm pretty sure most people neutrals
Put that in the
would
comments.
say
yeah, I'd be interested.
a much more attractive game, better
Yeah,
football.
but I think most neutrals would actually still want to see Chelsea against Man City. Maybe
Really?
not for the current performance of Chelsea, but you've got two really big branded teams, you know, historically big teams over the last sort of 10 years. I mean, we shouldn't
Biggest
I mean, we
spenders
shouldn't
and-
forget about what Chelsea have done recently. You know, during the
Yeah.
Do you look at
Nothing.
Chelsea different? Do you look at, I look at
Well,
Chelsea.
nothing, but I'm talking about over the last sort of 10 years.
No, I hear
Since-
you.
I look at Chelsea as a completely different
Yeah,
club now to what they were under Abramovich. Do you?
So you're thinking of the John Terry days.
Yeah,
That's
And,
far removed.
You know, I'm thinking
they're
of
different.
I'm thinking of as recently as, was it 2000? When did they last win the league? Was it 2019?
Well, Conte was manager when they
Yeah, was it 2019? It wasn't that long ago.
won. We stopped them doing a double.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
I'm biased, but I
Yeah.
think that Aston Villa Arsenal is a much more attractive game for the neutral than Man City Chelsea.
I think it is one because it's like Villa are on the up and all
Yeah.
that, but I do think because of the Emery, I'm going to say Emery.
I mean,
Arteta
it's
thing.
bigger for us. I'd say around the world, the viewing figures for it'd
Probably
be interesting.
Chelsea.
I'd say the viewing figures for Chelsea against Man City will be bigger than for
Maybe.
Aston Villa Arsenal. That's my view. I might be
No,
wrong.
no. As we said earlier, it's games about opinions.
It's all about
but
opinions.
But the thing is, I'd base my opinion on a fact of which one gets. I'm just interested in which one gets. I'm saying that I think, and I might be wrong, but we could check it after the game. Is which game had the bigger view?
It'll be interesting to see what they're saying in the comments.
That'd be interesting,
but,
like, you know, because at the end of the day, Aston Villa still a massive club, and they have a European trophy. You know what I mean? Does that make them bigger than Arsenal? I don't think so.
They have two, don't they? Is it one or two?
One.
Yeah.
1982, I think they won it. Yeah. Had some blinding players in. I'm like growing up, like some of the players that they had.
I remember Gordon
Cowans, Tony Morley.
Don't forget Villa, they're a massive club.
Massive
City,
club.
Birmingham. They're the biggest club in Birmingham by some distance.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the nearest biggest to them would be Birmingham. They're not.
So this could come in like so. If you was to pick you come from Birmingham.
Yeah.
What team would you pick? Aston Villa or Birmingham?
Could I pick Wolves?
You can pick Wolves if you want.
Well, I'd pick Wolves because Wolves was actually the first team I ever supported. Because my mum bought me, it was on offer, and my mum ended up just buying a football shirt, and it was a Wolves shirt. And it was back in the day when, you ironed the... Do you remember it? You ironed the numbers back on? Yeah. My mum was ironing the number on the back of the Wolves shirt, and there was a knock at the door. And she went to answer the door, and when she got back, she'd forgot she'd left the iron on the shirt, and it burnt through. And my dad goes, "Don't worry, let's get him an Arsenal shirt. Otherwise, I could have been in the box with Inda every week."
Oh, there you go. So Wolves would have been yours.
Wolves
what about you?
I like the kit.
As a Brummy, you Peaky Blinder?
Without a doubt, it would have to be Villa. And the reason why I say that is because I've got family and friends. I've got a very good school friend of mine who moved up to Birmingham just after we left school. And he lives in Birmingham and he's a Villa fan. And if you look at the landscape of Birmingham, so you got like Aston Villa, Birmingham, West Brom, Wolves, Walsall.
Yeah.
And out of those clubs, I think it's fair to say Villa are by far the biggest.
Yeah, they are
club
the biggest.
in the city.
Yeah,
So,
I would have been Villa. Like, you know, talking about things that split and divide the fan base. Eddie looks like he's on his way. Like looking like Nottingham Forest. It looking like the deal's done, according to Robbie.
Yes.
I can't believe people are saying I'll give him away and everything like that. I'd be a little bit unfair on him, like, you know what I mean? Genuinely, I think he's been a very good squad player for us and done a job. I think people forget that. Done a job when we lost. Who did we lose? I can't think of that. Like Jesus that time, and then like he come in and filled in.
And before that, when Aubameyang, we got rid of Aubameyang and Lacazette wasn't forming.
Yeah, he come in against Chelsea.
I remember it very well.
Like,
I remember what happened a few seconds before he scored.
I do remember that. Like that was a day that he turned it around for me a little bit that day. I have to say,
a little bit.
Yeah. I think he's done okay for us, and again, I'm going to say that I wish him all the best. I hope he does because I think he deserves to have first team football. And Nottingham Forest, by the way, decent club.
Yeah, no, it is a decent club. And I think with Eddie, I mean, I really like Eddie. I really like him. But I'm
going to say this now. You've always backed him.
Yeah, but I always back anyone that puts maximum effort in, and whatever you can say about him, he puts it in. And there was one quote I think after he came on against Norwich when he scored that goal after 15 seconds, and he said, "Most people think it's taken me 15 seconds to score for Arsenal. I've been working on this my whole life." Which kind of summed up Eddie.
Yeah, it was a great point.
Yeah, it was a really, really good quote by him. And he's a young man, tries hard, and he is, in effect, third, maybe fourth choice striker at the moment. You mentioned before we went on air that Trossard could probably get in ahead of him. But he is worth what he's worth. And I think we should... it's not just about Eddie and the fact I like him as a person, as a player, but we should always try and maximise the amount we get for players, because if we maximise it, especially with the current climate of the way that it's structured now and the regulations in place, we need to maximise the amount of money we get for players. We shouldn't just be giving them away because we don't like the player. And I did hear someone, I think it was Turkish, saying, "Well, I don't want to be at the end of the season and I can't believe we're in a situation where like 15 million, we should just give it away." No, 15 million last time I checked, or 10 million or 5 million or 1 million, still a substantial amount of money that it all adds up.
Yeah, I agree, and
it sets a precedent as well that if you start giving players away, then it makes us look like a
with Eddie,
soft touch.
And with Eddie, Laurie, he has scored goals against the big time. I remember Man United getting a winner against them, you know. Do you remember the header as well? He has got important goals, so he can do it against it. But people go, oh, he scores hat-tricks against Sheffield United and that. Yeah. But he has done it against Chelsea away. Yeah. He's
got
done
it against Man United, I think.
Man United a couple of times. So, listen, what's your feelings of it? Wish him well and...
Yeah, well, absolutely. He goes with my blessings, man. I mean, it's interesting because Eddie's become quite a polarising figure at the club recently. A lot of fans have said that his time's up, he needs to move on. And listen, I do agree with that. I do think, as much as I admire him as a person, like Julian says, he always puts a shift in. He seems like a good guy. But if we analyse his career at Arsenal, I think he's been at Arsenal since 2017. I know he had the loan spell, Leeds, I think it was, and then he came back to Arsenal. I don't think there's, in his 7 seasons of playing in the Premiership, I don't think there's been one season where he's scored more than 5 Premier League goals. So he's not exactly prolific. However, he's not always started, and that's where a lot of people fail to give him credit for that. When you're not starting, you're coming on for 5, 10, 15 minutes in a game. It's not easy to make an impact, let alone score. So it's not been easy for him. He's always put a shift in, done his best for the club, kept his head down, not said too much. And I respect that. But I do also think that the time has come now. He's fallen down the pecking order. As Julian quite rightly said, he could be 4th now because there were times last season when the manager chose to play Trossard up front as opposed to Eddie. And if you look at the back end of the season, he was getting next to no game time. So if you're 25 years old like Eddie is, you've actually been linked with England before. He's had call-ups. You must be thinking, yeah, exactly. So really and truly, his career is stagnating at Arsenal now. So he has to take that in mind and say, look, I need to be playing football. So I think the Forest move would be a good move for him. And I know there's been some back and forth about the fee. And whilst a lot of people say, oh, just take the money, just take the money, I can understand why Arsenal are a little bit reticent, although I do think we should move in on. The reason is if you look at the headlines and you're seeing Armando Broja being linked with clubs for 30 million,
well,
come
I think
on
he's
now.
going to Ipswich for 30. I think it's a loan with an obligation to pay 30 million. So
exactly.
You know.
So if he's going for 30 million and you're Arsenal and they're doing them, man, you'll be quite entitled to say, well, look, if Broja's going for 30 million, we want at least 25 already.
Well, they've already been offered 25. They should at least have 30.
Well, yeah. So
35. And look,
there's a reason why the Marseille move fell down is because they weren't prepared to pay a certain amount of money.
You know, you can compare it with a few, actual transfers that have gone through. Solanke for 65 million. I mean, Solanke's worth 65. Surely Eddie's worth at least 30.
Well, Solanke did get 19 Premier League goals last year. And as I said, Eddie,
he was a starter.
Well, yeah, exactly. Let's have a little Invincible's little game here then. Like, you know what I mean? Right, yeah. Eddie signs for Nottingham Forest. How many goals are you going to say? He's going to see who gets the nearest to it at the end of the season. So, how many goals are you going to go for? Premier League goals.
Premier League goals, I'd say get 10.
10?
I was going to say that. Double figures for me.
So, like,
as long as he's getting a decent amount of starts, not coming on.
Yeah, I'm going to say, all right, now I'll go 1 eye. I was going to say 9, but I'll go 11 then. Like, you know what I mean? So, I'd love him to get in the double figures. So, and I think you're right. If he plays more games, I think that he will do. Like, you know, so. I
think it'd be a good acquisition for Forest because if you look at their main striker at the moment is Chris Wood.
Yep.
Big, strong, tall, good in the air. Not exactly prolific, but he gets goals. But if you get Eddie coming, he brings a different type of energy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Pacey. Yeah. He's not rapid, but he's got good pace. He plays
he's rapid.
On the defender's last show. So, you know what I mean? He's going to get you goals.
I'm surprised Leicester haven't gone in for him as well, like, you know what I mean, if I'll be honest. You know what I mean? Like, relying on Jamie Vardy, who, by the way, done very well the other night. Well done, Jamie.
Yeah, we really enjoyed that.
We enjoyed that night, you know?
Especially when he...
so, might have
what did he do? He went...
He'd give it to Spurs fans as well, like, you know. He could have actually won the game for him when he went through as a save. I thought we should have done better, but no, he done well. But I'm surprised that Leicester haven't gone in for him, like, you know. But there you go.
I think, listen, he could do a job at a lot of clubs. Maybe not top 6 or even top 8.
Yeah, I think, like, but I think he's
that,
a Premier League striker. I think, like,
100%. You know. And I reckon if he goes to the right club and he gets decent games and decent service, I reckon you're looking at double figures for the season.
Yeah, Well, we've spoken about a tactical show and how good it is.
Yeah.
And James has walked in. Like, I hope he heard that. and
Well,
praised
well,
what
I
he
actually
did.
said how good it was,
Yeah.
and you said it wasn't.
I never said
You said
that.
you were bored by it and you'd never watch it.
Listen, he slagged off our show like the other day, so I'm not going to give it like that. Listen, we've come to the end. I think we've enjoyed that. Laurie, what can I say?
No, it's a pleasure
I'll
to be
tell
on,
you
man.
what,
Thanks
pleasure
for
to
having
have
me.
you here, like,
Thank
you
you
know,
very much.
looking
Appreciate
well, looking slim, looking sharp.
I'm trying, man.
Well
I'm
done,
trying.
man, like, you know.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, Julian, you're not, but we're gonna see you. A different Julian, is this right? We're going to say this now, like, you know.
Well,
what I
I've
mean?
been there before, so I can get there again.
Yeah, so and gonna you know, well, good luck with the diet and all that, like, you know. So I'm hoping to see some
When's the official start date?
tomorrow.
It's always tomorrow. That's the best time to start.
Tomorrow never comes, as they say, like, you know. So we'll see, like, and I'll be on to you. Don't worry about that when you.
No, but you know what? Now he's put it out there like this. Then you know, what I mean, you've
Listen here.
made that bold statement.
Yeah,
so we can,
he's made a
we can
bold
monitor
statement,
it.
Laurie. He's made a bold statement. I'll tell you, this is him to a T, right? He'd go and have something to eat, like, and we'd be walking down the road, and he's disappeared past the newsagents. What are you doing? I just got to get a bar of chocolate. Like,
But I just need a bit of
I will
sugar
be
rush
stopping
sometime.
that. I will be
All right,
stopping
good.
that
That's what I want.
every single time, like, from now on. Like, you know, when he goes in, he'll be dragging you out of there, like, you know. So there'll be no more chocolate, right? That is it for until Arsenal have won the league. You know what I mean? You go, like, you know. So thanks, Julian. Listen, we come to the end of the show. Don't forget, do all that business, subscribe and everything like that, and leave the comments what you think. How many goals Eddie is going to get if he does do the business at Nottingham Forest?
The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.